Well, I think, Bruce, it's more of the same and maybe even a little less of the same. And what I mean by that is we're comparing this year's numbers to last year, and last year was a significant drop in total number of home sales versus the last decade, really, if you think about it that way or more. So when you're comparing it to a really low year and it's even lower, there's cause for concern. I think some of those factors that they mentioned are absolutely slowing down the number of transactions happening, particularly rates and continually rising prices. Matter of fact, prices hit another all-time high, rising to a median of 419,300, which is 5.8% year over year increase, right, from last May. And it's also the 11th consecutive month of year over year gains. So that's puts buyers, some buyers, right, enough buyers to slow the overall number of transactions happening in a little bit of a pickle, right? Rates haven't moved down yet much, if at all. And now you've got prices continuing to ratchet up, and that makes everyone's monthly payment just more expensive, right? So they're making decisions accordingly. Well, I think, Bruce, it's more of the same and maybe even a little less of the same. And what I mean by that is we're comparing this year's numbers to last year, and last year was a significant drop.
In a speech in Minneapolis, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen will announce the new funding sources for housing production. She'll also urge further action by states and Congress, including the passage of bipartisan legislation to expand the low-income housing tax credit program. Now, the administration estimates that the bill would collectively build and preserve over 2 million homes. So what are your thoughts around this?
I'm not sure what preserving a home means, Bruce. It might mean preserving it underneath this LIHTC program, the low income housing tax credit. I actually happen to own a piece of property that's covered under the LIHTC program. And ultimately, what that does is it holds down what you can charge for rent over a number of years, right? So that it can be included for, low income housing. It doesn't last forever, but it actually lasts quite a long time, which is good news. And what the person gets for including this particular housing in that program is a really big tax credit, right? And that's what this program is designed for, either to build more of these or to register more properties under this LIHTC program, because the government offers these tax credits. And we've talked a little bit about this, Bruce, but it's been a while. They offer tax credits like this because they understand two things. One, that the private sector can actually provide for housing needs much quicker and in greater quantity and more efficiently than the government ever could, right? These are investors that are going out and building these properties or buying properties and registering under these programs.
The early AVMs were not very accurate, right? I present my case, the Zestimate, right? Not very accurate. That was an AVM model. But they are getting more and more accurate as time goes on, and as artificial intelligence gets smarter and smarter. So I can see this. Now, the FDIC chairman, Grunberg, said that AVMs are being used more and more in the mortgage space and have the potential to contribute to lower costs and shorter turnaround times in the performance of property valuations. So one of the challenges that they're trying to overcome here, right, is this shortage of appraisers. And absolutely, particularly when we lowered interest rates and people were refining and buying houses, there was a shortage. But a lot of them actually have been aging out. And when you realize that becoming a full-blown appraiser, I mean, there's an apprenticeship program that actually takes you a couple of years to get through. So we do have a shortage of those people. And ultimately what that does is it slows down the process of getting a loan approved, and, oh, by the way, raises the cost, right? Supply and demand again showing up. So I think that this could be actually a good way of doing it. And we've reported on some previous stories where, appraisers have lowered the appraised value on minority-owned homes, right, because of bias. So ideally, if they program these AVMs correctly, they should be able to take that bias piece out, which I think would be good for everybody involved. The early AVMs were not very accurate, right? I present my case, the Zestimate, right? Not very accurate. That was an AVM model. But they are getting more and more